They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but sometimes it's best served fresh. Like this week's creepypasta. 3 days after breaking up with her boyfriend, Rachel received a text from him. It read, "I'm outside. Let me in." But when she checked the window, there was no one there. Sarah thought it was hilarious that her ex was stalking her. "He sounds like such a psycho," she said, laughing. By the time they arrived, though, her apartment was empty. But every night when she got home, she felt that same overwhelming sense of dread, the feeling that someone was watching her. One night as she was getting ready for bed, she noticed something strange. There was a small scratch mark on the wall beside her bed. At first she thought it was nothing, just some tiny mark made by the corner of a picture frame. Her real ex had been dead for a week, his corpse lying in the morgue, waiting to be cremated. And during the autopsy, they found something weird, something no one had seen before. Carved into his palm was Rachel's name. But then she noticed more marks, and those were followed by more, and those by more. Soon, the wall was covered with deep scratches. They searched the area, but her stalker was nowhere to be found. "Your crazy ex is scratching up your walls," Sarah said, laughing. "That's so crazy." She opened it, and the first thing she saw was a blurry photo of her bedroom wall. The one with the scratches. Below it, a single word was typed out in big, bold letters. "He's inside the walls." Then another message popped up. It was a photo of her bathroom, specifically the shower. The shower that had no doors. In the background of the photo, she could make out the faint outline of a person standing behind the curtain. But the more wine they drank, the less Sarah laughed and the more she cried. "You need to tell the police," she said, voice shaking. "This isn't funny, Rachel. This is crazy. He's stalking you. He's obsessed with you." Rachel knew she was right, but she was scared. What if the police didn't believe her? What if they thought she was making it all up? They took her phone and the broken window as evidence, and then they all left. She was alone again, but now she wasn't safe even in her own home. They found scratch marks on the other side, strands of his hair in the insulation, a bloody fingerprint on the mirror, and in his handwriting, a single note that read, "I'll never let you go." They also found a small hole in the wall, a hole that was perfectly round, like an eye staring blankly out into the world waiting for its prey. The only question was, who was behind it? Just ignore him. He'll get bored and go away. And for a while, he did. But then one night, as Rachel was getting ready for bed, she heard a knock on the door. She checked through the peephole and saw a man she didn't recognize. "Who is it?" she called out. "It's your ex," a voice said from the other side. "Let me in." He sounded like he was trying to be funny, but there was something menacing in his tone that made Rachel's skin crawl. When she didn't respond, he started banging on the door. "Come on, open up," he yelled. "Please let me in." She could hear his muffled sobs through the wood. "I know you're in there. I know you're awake." She must have just been outside, she thought, walking by and deciding to play a little prank on her. As she went back to sleep, more texts came in. "You shouldn't have left me," one read. Another said, "I can see you sleeping." Each message was time-stamped for 3:07 a.m. In the morning, she told her roommate Sarah about the creepy texts. She didn't want to call the cops yet. She didn't want them to think that she was overreacting. So instead, she called her friend Matt. He lived a few minutes away and she hoped that if her stalker saw that someone else was there, he would leave. As Matt came in through the front door, talking loudly on his cell phone, the knocking stopped, but then they heard a crash from inside the apartment. "What the hell was that?" Rachel whispered, eyes wide with fear. Matt followed her gaze to the window where a pane of glass lay shattered on the floor. "Oh God," Rachel cried. "He broke my window." She ran over to the window and looked out into the darkness, but there was no one there. When she turned back, she noticed that her phone was lying on the floor, the screen dead. Matt immediately called the police while Rachel paced back and forth, recounting what had happened. Over the next few weeks, she tried to move on with her life, going out with friends, throwing herself into work. When she told Sarah about it, her roommate thought it was hilarious. Then one day while she was at work, her phone was repaired. Forensic teams descended on the apartment. As Rachel watched in horror, they tore down the wall, sending plaster and dust raining down on her. Turns out the stalker wasn't Rachel's ex at all.